burial service.
Yeah.
You know how many not you, but elderly people that actually have flip phones, because that's all they can use. And now you ask them to do smartphones?
You're good enough for the Pledge of
I'll
Allegiance.
cut your back.
I pledge
To
allegiance
the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call the meeting to order. Roll call.
All right, Mayor Westergaard,
Yes.
Moeller,
Yes.
Steinkamp,
Yes.
and Woltman. Okay, Councilors Beckman and Frank will be absent unless I happen to hear from Dale. For sure Mike's not gonna be able to attend. Dale might.
Anyone for public forum?
I have something, I just want it on public record, excuse me. I had a whole thing written up for Beckman and Dale and Frank, but since they're not here, but I do want it on public record because I'm just not real happy with the way Sandy's whole position went down, and I know I'm beating a dead horse at this point, but I think that it seems to me that it was more of a personal vendetta. You know, I mean, Dale went after her right away from meeting one. The very first meeting I attended in January, he said he was gonna be focused on the campground. And I think the whole thing was a personal vendetta. He made rude comments about city people. He went off topic and went after the mayor while his son was doing a presentation. As far as I'm concerned, he needs to take some classes on professionalism and how to act at a meeting.
Good.
As for
Are you able
Dave,
to
the
join
next
us?
time
Are
he
you
gets coerced into
busy, or
doing somebody else's
what's
dirty
your
work,
thoughts?
I would hope he will know the correct facts, that she was not a lead, because he
It's okay,
made
so
the motion. If he's gonna make a motion, he needs
Dave,
to know.
Dave Woltman is on. We do have quorum.
As for Scott,
Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm gonna put you on speakerphone here then, Dale.
There you go.
see that. And Scott, as Sandy's supervisor, you dropped the ball. You need to stand up for your employees and not cower in your chair and let somebody else. You should have told them she was not a lead when he made that motion, and maybe it wouldn't have turned out the way it did. Finally, I'm beginning to wonder if this is a backdoor operation so that the department could be reorganized. I find it appalling that you hired a former employee for the same money that Sandy made, but gave them less duties, yet you couldn't give Sandy $1, but you gave Eric a $4 raise. To me, Sandy resigned because of a hostile work environment, and you can add sexual discrimination because you gave a man a raise that you denied a woman. That's what I had.
Thank you, Connie. Okay, consent agenda. Is there any additions or corrections?
Just that the Gordon building permit has been approved by Eric.
Oh, okay.
Oh, pardon me, not on the consent agenda.
No, consent agenda.
I'm a little ahead of the game.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll make that motion.
Second,
Second.
roll call. Pick one.
Okay. All right, Steinkamp,
Yes.
Moeller,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Woltman.
Okay, we have, all these building permits have been approved, A through D.
Yes.
Motion to approve those building permits.
So move.
Second,
I'll second it.
roll call.
Okay, Moeller,
Yes.
Steinkamp,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Woltman.
Okay, and we need to approve a fence permit for Cody Brown. He's met all the criteria.
Yep, everything's in order.
Your motion to approve. Second,
Second.
roll call.
Okay, Woltman,
Yes.
Moeller,
Yes.
Steinkamp,
Yes.
Beckman.
Yes.
Okay, we want to consider the building permit for Jim Bender, 2 foot taller addition.
Yeah.
We've met all the criteria.
Well, so let's talk through that a little bit. So the building permit's on page 44, and the building permit itself is for the building is fine. We need to address this issue in regards to that north easement. So Mr. Bender would propose to encroach 8 foot into that north easement on Lot A. And in order to do this, the recommendation would be that we would actually abandon that 8 foot portion of the easement. So it's not that, you can't say that you're building over an easement, we would have abandoned that 8-foot section then. In order to do that, you need to relocate some stuff pertaining to the sanitary sewer. So that's on page 43, when you look at that sketch about how that would be done. Relocate an existing sanitary sewer cleanout to the east. And then would run sanitary sewer service lines, the dashed lines, into Mr. Bender's property and into number 11. Okay, it's not proposed that number 11 line would be put in until a home would be constructed there. So that would be the responsibility of Mr. Bender to get it there during that construction time. And we would have to have a notation on the property, recorded on the property stating that. Then in addition, the other issue deals with the backyard setback of this structure on Lot A. It was proposed to be 1 foot from the existing back property line, okay? Jim owns or soon will own the property to the east of that, the north half of that outlot. And so Mr. Bender would own the property between this Lot A and then over actually on the corner of Lakewood Drive and North State Road. Owns those properties over there too and would intend at some point to build his permanent home there. So the intention then, as far as Lot A goes, would be that he would resurvey that outlot to add 10 feet onto Lot A so that the backyard would be compliant with that. So I talked to Dave Jennett about what our options are there. And he said you can work through the issue about abandoning that easement, and that would require an action on the part of the city council to do that. We would also have to have a public hearing on that before that could occur. And then as far as the issuance of the permit, Dave Jennett would look at this as if you want to proceed with approval, it would be a conditional approval, conditioned upon the fact that this transfer of the property, the 10 additional feet on the back of that property does occur, and that likely occurs then in June. Just with an absolute understanding that if this building permit were issued now basically as a conditional building permit, because I know Jim wants to get started, that if there is ever any problems and this property transaction falls through and you're not able to meet the back property lines, that the building permit would not be valid anymore, and that there'd be a cease and desist order on the construction.
How confident are you on being able to get the right paperwork, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
He has, it was done.
It's
Just
gonna happen.
Jeff is really busy. He trying to stay small. I can pay like $500 to get somebody out of Kansas City or out of Des Moines if that's what you guys want, but trying to stick with Jeff from Nemaha. He worked for the guy that did this original part. He took over the business of doing that, so I'm trying to stick with him. So he told me June, and he said, I've got no problem if you're gonna go somewhere else, because I understand people need their stuff, but he's got customers that he deals with every year that he's gonna stick with, and I'm just a one-off kind of thing. So I appreciate him being up front. I said, I'm gonna stick with you. I said, can I get on the schedule? He says, could be June, could be sooner. It's all based on how tall the corn gets, how quick. So obviously, we're very delayed on planning, so I see it being more closer to mid-June, if I was guessing. But that's why he's gonna resurvey that, and now I'll have him, while he's there, resurvey Lot A, because those pins will have to move out 10 foot. So it'll be all one.
When do you plan to start construction?
I wanted to start next weekend.
Does the contractor want to start next weekend?
What'd you say?
The contractor wants to start too?
That's me. Yeah,
You?
yeah. My wife wants me to start.
Hey, you're gonna start.
Yeah, you know how that's gonna work.
Yeah.
So you wanna issue a building permit to pass this with the easement issue?
Excuse me a second.
Yep.
I just want to make sure we're clear that if Bender, which I'm fine with him starting construction, and something falls through with the purchase of that property, that now he does not meet the setbacks, that Mr.
Yep, it's already, Scott has the contract, there's no going back, it's done, signed, paid, it's done. All we're missing is an abstract right now. In order to do a legal description for the county, we gotta have an abstract, so Jeff's my holdup, other than that, it'd be a done deal. But yeah, that's totally fine, 'cause it all fits in, it's not even an issue.
This building permit.
Repeat that again?
I just wanna make sure that's clear before we approve this building permit.
Yep.
Because I don't want something to come through in the future and say, well, we approved this building permit, and now something fell through the purchase of that ground, and now they got boards up, well, he's already started, so let's let it go. I don't want that to happen.
Yep, understood.
But we're past all the indecision, it's just a matter of issuing a building permit.
Yep.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I guess two things on this. So one would be the issuance of a building permit that would encourage the council to call a conditional building permit conditioned upon that things happening with the property as stated. And then in that same motion, if you'd like, it would be the beginning the process of abandonment of that 8-foot worth of easement, which actually Dave Jennett had referred to that as a severing of that portion of the easement. So that would be the legal terminology for what would happen. We'd sever 8 feet of that easement. But then it is that he would not be building on an easement. The easement just wouldn't be there.
So we could take that all in one motion then?
Yep.
Okay, so moved.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
Okay, Waltman,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
Thanks, Gene, thanks, Scott, and thanks, Dale.
thank you. We'll wait for the anticipated start.
I am sure, lots of driving.
Okay, we got quotes for a pickleball court project?
Yeah, just, so as we look at this pickleball court, we're looking at this as really the city being general contractor on this, and there'd be 3 different contracts with it. And the first one would be with Midwest Dennison Track out of Dennison, and that being the surfacing and the nets and the standards. Okay, total quote on that, $19,336. And then also then the fence, and this is just a 4-foot fence, goes around the perimeter of both courts, and then also cuts down the between the 2 courts with gates on both the north and south side, 2 gates on both the north and south side to access each court that way. We got 2 prices on that. One's at the $9,000, one's at $13,000. So the low cost there is Midwest Fence and Gate out of Fort Dodge. And then we do have 3 bids here for concrete, which we'll go ahead and open concrete bids now. And you can write them in your sheet. 10 Point Construction, they're out of Denison, $39,750. Boost Specialties, $23,470. And Jensen Builders, $37,200. Low bid, current low bid is Boost Specialties, $23,470. So what's that make total project cost then?
Yeah, I got the 19. But the fence was 9,000 something.
Yeah.
51998?
So Scott, I have a question for you on the concrete bed, preparation of land. Is that all included in the concrete bed? Just removal of the tree and the grading and stuff, or where does that come in?
Okay, the tree removal will be done by the city, so the tree removal and then that's done by the city, and we'd have the stump ground out. The other site prep, all falls in with the concrete project. So that's stripping the sod, lays at least 2 inches of sand to level the site, 4 inches of concrete and rebar, and then the contractor's responsible then for backfilling and seeding then also.
Does that include the moisture barrier and all that? Because we had to have that extra, that's an
It does.
awful big difference, that just has me worried. The other two are so close, I mean. I don't know.
Didn't we, when this first came up, wasn't it a hundred
Preparation
thousand?
to make
Yeah.
sure that we're at the right height and the drainage and stuff is all within the concrete bed, or is that the city's responsibility?
The city would work with the concrete contractor on that, but yeah, it would fall within the concrete contractor's responsibility.
There's no utilities down, is there?
We're okay on the funding, we have all the funding in place for that?
Yeah, very close now, because we have $50,000 committed, and it's basically $52,000 total project.
Plus the additional cost of the city's responsibility?
Yeah, plus the tree removal and some of the labor costs associated with it.
So we're still working with, I'm gonna call it the pickleball court committee with the fundraising and whatnot, so forth, and the grant writing, right? So there's an opportunity for more grants, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Just any update there?
No,
Tony?
you don't even find out until May for the first one, but there's a $25,000 one, another $25,000 one, and a $50,000. Hopefully, we don't have to bleachers.
Put it in the difference between the low bid and the other two bids are close. Is that an area for concern?
Kinda worries me.
They all had to bid off that same spec. And I would tell you that Booth has interacted with the Midwest Track and Tennis folks quite a bit.
Oh, they have? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Well, I'll make a motion to go with the whole bid. Continue on with a little bit of fundraising.
I just wanna make sure.
All right.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second.
I think we all seconded it.
Pick one. Roll call.
Okay, Voltman,
Yeah,
Beckman,
Yeah.
Moeller,
Yes.
Steinkamp.
Yes.
Doesn't that call for a yee-haw from the group here? or-
What?
This is a big deal. This
Yeah,
is way quicker than we thought,
yeah.
I think.
I'm just hoping we don't get all those grants. Or we'll be putting cards in for the school or something.
With that, as far as timing goes, within the contract, the concrete bid, we put that the work needed to be done by June 1st. But there is a 45-day cure time on that before they can think about putting the surface on it. So then it gets to be, certainly the middle of July then before they think about doing the surface work.
But, and if I recall from the meeting with Dennison, that's gonna do the surfacing, Midwest, right?
Mhm.
That they wanted to be there when the cement is poured,
Yeah.
is that not
Yeah.
right? So you'll coordinate that?
You bet.
Congratulations on a good effort. Okay, we have some quotes on the fire station siding project.
Yeah, so this would be seamless steel siding for the east and the north sides of the fire station. We did get a second quote then. So the quotes that we had received, one from TNS, and then also got one from Schrader's. Low cost on this is gonna be TNS. It is just a question of the type of project that you would like to do. For $2,450 more from the $29,450, they would install 1.5-inch foam between the furring strips and another 1/2 inch over the top of the furring strips. that's the original way that, that the fire department had bid this out. And when traders came in, they just came in with 3/4 inch foam and 3/4 inch furring strips. So Chief Garles would recommend the option with the 1.5 foam at a little higher cost.
I think that's the best way to go. We have a motion to accept the low bid with the Q&S.
I'll make it.
I'll second it.
Roll call.
Okay, Stankin,
Yes.
Moeller,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Woltman.
Yes.
They didn't give a start date on it, did he?
No. Although, it may or may not be yet this year. I'm assuming Girls thought maybe next year.
We informed TNS that it had to be done by this fiscal year, so.
Oh, okay.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna hire some seasonal employees. We got some more today.
Yeah, so within your packet, there was a resolution to hire the litterers, Kevin and Beth. So, Nancy Mulbauer, Mayor Westergaard, and I interviewed several folks this afternoon about an assistant manager position or campground attendant. And we had some real good interviews this afternoon, and we would propose that we would add a couple names to that resolution. One would be a campground manager to be Alex Riley. Alex is a young guy, still finishing up his college, but he's a 4-year veteran from the Marines, and had served his 4 years in the Marines. He's finishing up college at DMAC now. And then a campground attendant would be proposed to be Haley Wassam. Haley also is finishing up her time. She's finishing up her first year at DMAC, and then would finish up her second year in May of 23. These folks are proposed for hire. Good candidates who gave real nice interviews, and we feel real good about them. I do want everybody to know that we didn't have any idea about this as we're setting up any interview time, but they're boyfriend girlfriend. So as far as employing these people at the campground, but I do want everybody to be aware of that, but they'd be recommended for hire.
We have a motion to run resolution 2215.
I'll make it.
Second,
Second.
roll call.
All right, Steinkamp,
Yes.
Moeller,
Yes.
Beckman,
Yes.
Woltman.
Yes.
Okay, we got some street project.
Can I ask a question about that? So this Alex Riley is the assistant then?
Yes,
And what position does Ruth have, any?
We would classify her as a campground attendant,
What are her wages?
$20. So on streets, I guess this is one of those issues, I guess I'd really like to be able to have some good discussion with the city council about choosing streets and going through pricing, which ones we would finalize on, and then having some discussion about that reconstruction of Lakeshore Drive. If you'd like to have that discussion tonight, we can. If you'd like to postpone it a little bit, I'm certainly okay with that too, if we can have a personal discussion.
I think we should put it off till we get some guys here.
Everybody okay with that?
Yes.
I think so, there was me.
Let's table
We'll
this
wait.
issue then for now. Although, for both Dave and Dale, I emailed you out, another price quote on streets, and it's just interesting to be able to compare these two asphalt price quotes. We do have two of them. And getting to where we could choose streets and proceed, other than, of course, the price is a little higher than what we would have anticipated. So we need to have that discussion.
I'm totally fine with tabling that till the next meeting.
Okay.
Let's do the city clerk administrator report.
Yeah, just this budget amendment, I just wanted to run through that budget amendment with you about the proposed changes. Just knowing that all of these expenses have already occurred, and the proposed budget amendment would really be just to amend the budget so that we don't overspend anything that we had budgeted previously. So during the course of the year, we would have had some additional projects that had come along, and we would make some changes then to the budget. So just the proposal here would be able to make these changes to the budget amendment. I'd have to publish this, and we'd have a public hearing on this at the second meeting in May. So just the general transfers there, just want to run through this line item. There's $18,000 there in transferring from the general fund, and that's the remainder of some green infrastructure projects, and cleans up that negative balance we have in the infrastructure fund. Lost transfers would be transfer for the pickleball. We've committed $25,000 there, and then also early in last fiscal year was some additional cost on the Camp Crescent cabins. Changes to TIF as far as expending some funds out of there, $25,000 for community center engineering, and then also the TIF capital improvements about expending funds for the Evapco water main project and that payment to Jacobson. The trust and agency there you see was, that's library related, and those are expenses associated with the sculpture and the landscape around the sculpture. Street, there's a little addition to the street capital expense there, paid for curb and gutter that was done, and then the potentially here yet this year a couple of manholes to be reconstructed, and that's just the new concrete surface around the top of the manhole. In the capital projects fund, you see the total actually goes down significantly, and that would account for the fact that we had budgeted some expenses, about half the expenses for the community center project, which of course is not being constructed during the current fiscal year. But there is some offset of that then with the Outlot 20 costs and cost to purchase the backhoe. So the net there, you see $370,000 negative. Changes to water, about Dean Woltman's salary. That's we paid Dean there as out of water as opposed to a lower paid employee, so that the salaries were a little higher. See some of the inventory items, had to purchase a couple of larger meters, and they ran about a little over $3,000 a piece for some large services, as well as several repairs to the high service pumps in the water plant. So there's a $10,000 amendment there. Utilities were up just a little bit at $1,500. Miscellaneous fees also a little bit, $5,000 there. And chemicals were up $5,000, and that just largely has to do with how many times we get salt. And again, it's some additional inventory and supplies for water for $8,000. So you see the total additional cost, water, is $38,500. Again, these costs, all of these were included in, as we were discussing our budget earlier this year, and we used re-estimated amounts for what we thought we were going to expend this current year. These items are all included in the re-estimated amount. So when we talked about what our anticipated fund balances would be at the end of this year or next year, these were all accounted for it as we were discussing the budget process. Okay, see on electric then, reduced the wage line item. We had previously paid our electric superintendent, our utility superintendent out of that, plus we were short-staffed for just a little bit during the year, so that's down $49,000. Vehicle operations up just a little bit, in supplies up just a little bit. Okay, the outside labor, we had that electric system study done at $28,000, and then the inventory costs were significantly higher there at the $265,000. The cost per unit is higher than what it had been, but mainly we had just purchased more materials and did a lot more projects than what was originally budgeted. And then also looking at wholesale power, up $65,000 in total, and that has to do with those higher transmission rates like we had discussed. Last entrant there would be the electric improvement fund for that, transferring for the internal TIF debt, which was done earlier, and that's $200,000 there. So the total amendment will be proposed to be $571,000. And the next process would be to get that in the format of the state forms, and then we'd publish that state form.
Scott, is there a way we can table this till the next meeting and get a breakdown of how this is all going, since we didn't have that in our packet?
Yeah, it's in the packet. It's page 12.
I don't have that packet in front of me, but I did see the packet when you sent it to us, and I didn't see how everything was going from one account to another. And I would like to table it till the next meeting so we can see it from where your transfers from money from one account to another to account for this budget transfer stuff.
There's no money necessarily from one account to the other, Dale. They're just additional expenses out of those line items.
Well, we talked about this in your office, and I would like to make a motion that we table this for 2 weeks until the next council meeting, so we can see it broke down in paper.
We're not taking any action tonight anyway.
It's just really informational, although it does need to be published in the paper. So this would be, these numbers would be published. They'd go to the paper here this week to be published the following week. But otherwise, there is no action.
I would still like to see it in black and white.
Okay.
It is on page 12, right?
Yeah, I seen the packet that came out, John, and I didn't follow it, and I asked Scott about it. He said it's a normal thing, but the weekend got a little busy and the Easter weekend, so I would just like to table it for 2 weeks, and if it's not a big issue to table it, then I don't know what the issue is.
We were not taking any action tonight anyway, so we don't have to table, we'll just talk about it next council.
We'll talk about it next time.
We don't need a motion for that.
If we get a more breakdown of it, like we talked, Scott, I'd appreciate it.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll give you, I guess, better detail of what the expenses are then, Dale.
Perfect, thank you.
Couple things yet. Couple additional things. The housing issues, then dealing with the Board of Supervisors, potentially on that ARPA funds. I've met with the other city managers in the county here a couple times now, and a couple of the different, individually with the Board of Supervisors members. And we will continue to work on that as far as that ARPA issue goes. But then I know it's on the agenda at the Board of Supervisors meeting tomorrow to receive a report from their ARPA committee. So we'll be up there to hear from their ARPA committee about any potential actions that might be shaken out, and to just let everybody know we're certainly interested in what's going on.
What time is that tomorrow?
10:30 is the slotted time on their agenda.
Okay.
So are we gonna have somebody there, like Whitey, are you able to attend?
Yeah, I'll be able to attend. That's why I'm asking what time it was. It's 10:30, so shouldn't be a problem.
Great. Super, thank you.
I know we were inquiring about the community center property out there and that hayfield on that. Steve Wilson is the farmer who has been taking the hay off that. He's been renting that from Boulders, and Steve said he had been paying $100 per acre. Now that, there's still 150 feet to the north of the city property, so the property along the highway is still owned by Boulders, and Steve's growing some hay on that too. So we'll we'll work with Boulders and work with Steve on what a lease arrangement would look like on that. And then my last thing is out to the lagoon, Dean, and we talked a little bit about the wet spot between the saggers. And we were able to get a test on that.
A sample, and it was less than 1 for the E. coli. And I talked to the engineer, and it seems like it'd be groundwater, but it's not really drying up. So I don't know if we need to put in another tile, or is the tile that's there not taking it? Because there is a tile that runs right on the top, about 10 foot down. So that should be taking the groundwater, and it's not.
It could be plugged,
Could be,
it could be anything.
could be.
Just have to keep an eye on it.
Yes, we are keeping an
But
eye on it.
it is groundwater though?
That's what we're assuming by the test. The water does not have a high enough E. coli, and where it is, it's in between the 2 saggers where it would be higher than, it'd be just like coming right out of the cell.
Okay.
Is that something we need to get an engineer to come
Todd was,
start spot checking it for the summer or something, have a
yes,
plan?
I'll keep an eye on it and keep with Todd, and if it doesn't dry up when we start having really dry weather, then it's, if it's a spring that's coming up and not catching the tile, why isn't it catching the tile? Then me and Todd will have another discussion about what's happening with that tile. Because we've had that before when we thought that, it had been collapsed from dirt falling on it, and it was never brought to Todd's attention, but then we told him it had. So,
Otherwise, it's working fine.
yeah, it's doing its job, the saggers are in the lagoon.
Our numbers are okay then.
Yes, at this point.
That's it?
That's it.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Move them out.
I'll second.
Meeting adjourned.
Hey, Gene, how are we doing on our
All
fire hydrants?
Oh, no, that's.
right, there, Dale.
I ordered some.
You ordered some?
Yeah, I ordered,